Saludos. Our gala theme this year is Securing the Dream, which reflects our efforts to ensure long-term resources to sustain our programs and to continue the important work of our new Southeast office. The response that we have received from our funders, our friends, and supporters has been overwhelming because they understand the rights and the role that LatinoJustice plays to protect the rights of the Latino community. The foundation of our current work at LatinoJustice PRLDEF rests on 4 interrelated pillars. LatinoJustice has always been at the forefront of ensuring Latino voting rights and civic engagement. Our work on the issue of voting rights is especially important today as the Voting Rights Act and the opportunity for everyone to vote is under attack in state legislatures and in Congress. Our work to reform police practices nationally and in New York and Long Island. Our call to restore the rights of the formerly incarcerated in places like Florida, and our efforts to ensure the fairness and public safety of Latino immigrants as they interact with law enforcement are key elements of our criminal justice work. Our Latinas at Work project is important work that in just a few years has accomplished several significant employment and economic justice victories for our clients. But all of this work needs more people to execute our vision of an inclusive society. We do that through our CAP Leadership Institute, which develops young change makers through leadership training and law school education pipeline opportunities. We often say that our work is about people, their search for justice, and their desire to be treated fairly and have equal opportunities to succeed. For more than 40 years, LatinoJustice PRLDEF has worked diligently to get government and the private sector to respect the rights of Latinos, from cleaning up Vieques, Puerto Rico, to combating sexual harassment on the job, to ensuring that police treat Latinos fairly and professionally. We have made a major impact on the well-being of Latinos. We will continue to forge that path to justice.
LatinoJustice is imperative in the fight to protect the voting rights of Hispanics and Latinos throughout the Southeast region. In this region, as the voting power of Latinos and Hispanics grows, so does the desire to keep them down, to keep them from voting. And it is our job, it is our mission, and it is our core advocacy and legal project to make sure that we protect the voting rights of Latinos and Hispanics as their voting power increases and as there are greater and greater efforts to disenfranchise them.
At LatinoJustice PRLDEF, we consider voting rights to be one of the foremost civil rights issues facing Latino communities across the nation today. We are at the vanguard of national work to address voter disenfranchisement and voting rights as it impacts Latino communities across the nation, including in redistricting, vote dilution, felony disenfranchisement, voter purges, and more.
From the beginning, LatinoJustice has been involved in criminal justice matters as it impacts the Latino community. Specifically in New York City, the rate of police stopping Latinos and blacks is just astronomically higher than it is for whites. We are one of several not-for-profit law firms who have brought this stop and frisk case to stop these abuses by New York City police. Stop and frisk have dramatically gone down, and there are right now a series of meetings within communities to make sure that these results are going to stick. And this is very parallel to the work we're doing in Suffolk County and Long Island generally, of reining in the police forces that have found easy targets to the Latino community out there for keeping up their arrest numbers and what have you. Most recently, there are stories of a cop stopping Latino drivers and robbing them. And what we saw, a sergeant, a 25-year veteran sergeant, had been robbing Latino drivers. And finally it was caught on video, and we, on behalf of 25 of his victims, have brought a lawsuit. Another instance was in East Hampton, where a Latina was found hanging in the woods. There was all sorts of evidence that it might have been a crime. The police came in, they didn't investigate the crime at all, they just declared it to be a suicide. A year later, we released a report from an expert saying that the East Hampton police had completely failed to do a minimal criminal investigation into this horrible crime.
The Law Project, or Latinas at Work project, was initiated a couple of years ago to address systemic exploitation of low-wage Latin immigrant workers, particularly in New York City and in the larger metropolitan area. There was a need to advocate on their behalf and through legal services and through litigation to be able to try to address the systemic violations. Workplace abuse, particularly for immigrant Latino workers, is extensive because of the toxic combination of discrimination and exploitation that takes place in certain sectors.
Ya llevo aquí 7 años dedicándome a limpiezas. Aquí en este país vine con ganas de trabajar y yo creo que el trabajo para mí es lo principal y he aprendido que hay que luchar por sus derechos de uno, porque si uno no dice nada y uno se quede callada, no le hacen caso, uno tiene que gritar y alzar la mano y aquí estoy, oiga, aquí estoy porque yo también necesito que me paguen mi día. La última vez a una persona yo le dije, oye, ¿me puedes pagar algo el 4 de julio porque vine a trabajar? Me dijo, es mi holiday, no es tu holiday, pero así riéndose, es mi holiday, no es tu holiday. Dice, ¿cómo te voy a pagar más? Dice.
The LatinoJustice PRLDEF Cesar A. Perales Leadership Institute embodies 3 of LatinoJustice PRLDEF's long-term guiding principles: preparing Latinos and Latinas for law school, cultivating Latino leaders, and increasing civic participation. Our CAP network includes our law-bound students, the people who take LSAT courses here, our youth leadership network advocates, the young interns that work throughout our organization, and even our Líderes Young Professionals group.
What Lawbound did for me was provide me the avenue to get into law school. It provided me a family as well as mentors and as well as meeting different attorneys, lawyers, and judges in the New York State area. As a Latino, I didn't have anybody in my family who is an attorney. Nobody in my family has gone beyond their college degree, so I was the first in my family to go into law school or to even think about going into law school.
These change makers have access to our legal education programs, leadership and professional development modules, networking events, volunteer opportunities, and many other tools and resources that support their growth into the transformative leaders of tomorrow.
Yo, mi sueño y mi motivo más grande de despertarme todas las mañanas son mis hijos. Son el levantarme y querer un abrazo de ellos, el levantarme y querer algún día estar conmigo.